الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته وحياكم الله. I pray you're all well.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
جزاك الله خيرا. Inshallah, today we continue. Barakallahu feekum. Inshallah, today we continue our learning on how to prepare our path to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are there any questions from previous notes you have from previous lessons? So there are things that if you're aware of them, you can start preparing, can start with them right away. We can mention some of the things we learned from previous weeks. I'm happy if you want to type or if you want to pick the mic and speak, just you know that the session is recorded. So just to get us started, what are few things? Okay, Jazakallah khairan, my sister. So my sister Fahmida shared planting a tree. Simply, you can start with the seed. Choose which tree you like, or maybe a few. It's up to you. Germinating a little seed is not difficult at all. And you still can have few tips, and you can try more than once until you see the shoot coming out. It can be an apple tree, it can be orange tree, lemon tree, any tree that's beneficial, even date tree. I don't know if it grows where you are, but it really, if you put a date seed, it's really good, and when it grows, it takes a little bit, like few days, but it grows, mashallah. So you can start with the seed, or you can get a baby tree and then plant it in your backyard or your garden, but you're the one who puts it yourself. So inshallah, Allah accept it from you. So this is one idea, Ahsanti. That can be sadaqah jariyah for you, mashallah. What else? From what we learned last few weeks that can help us prepare to our path to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay, my sisters, ideas? For example, we spoke about always seeking, saying, and the truth, because saying the truth, as well, my sister Famida said, passing on beneficial knowledge. So if you have a knowledge of anything that you can leave on a document, that you can leave on a paper, in a beautiful book, so people can read that book or those documents or this note and benefit from them in their lives, you get the reward for that, and it continues as you're not around anymore. It continues to grow. Distributing books of knowledge, ahsanti, my sister. So this one you don't have to author it yourself, but you can buy or order for a print. Like you can go to the bookstore or whoever is responsible for a print and say, okay, I want these many copies of this book finalized, and you pay for that, and then you distribute in schools, in places of masjids, places that need it for knowledge, and that will continue to grow for your sadaqah. جارية ما شاء الله. أحسنتي. So these are few examples. Always seeking the truth in what you say and in what you do, because that leads to al-birr. Al-birr is something you want to have. Al-birr is something you want to be. You want to be bar. And once you reach al-birr, you are from people of Jannah, according to the hadith we learned 2 weeks ago. Avoiding any kind of lie or saying untruth, because that can lead to this transgression, and that can lead out of it to fire. This is something you are aware of and you can do and you can seek easily. Okay, so it's really beneficial if you're taking notes from beginning of the series, so you already now have a list of things that can inspire you to do things today if you haven't done already. What is birr? Okay, who can or who would like to give idea to our sister Azmina? What is birr? Saying the truth, that's being truthful, but what is birr? Birr has a definition. We defined birr before. If any of my sisters can help, what is birr? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, innahu huwa al-barru rahim. Okay, truthfulness and goodness, these are general meaning to birr. These are not giving us what to do. So being good is goodness, but what exactly you do to be bar, ahsanti, to fulfill, mashallah. Someone who fulfills, ahsanti, my sister Romana. So someone who fulfills not only promises, tasks. I find out if you are in the light of understanding what birr is, you can never leave a job unfinished or undone. This is how birr can inspire you. So if you start, for example, cleaning your desk and you got distracted, you come back and you finish it. Because al-bar is the one who completes, who fulfills. If you give a word, you fulfill. If you give a promise, you fulfill. If you are tasked from some other person with something and you took the task on, then you fulfill. You try your best to deliver what you promised to do or what you agreed to do. When you have birr to your neighbors or you have birr to your parents, because you acknowledge the goodness or the kindness they treated you with, and now you're fulfilling your part of it. You're giving back. That's fulfillment. So birr is something you want to have. I believe it's, of course, it's a journey to reach that state of birr, but having birr means you have all your boxes, if you want to say, checked. You will not miss out. If you have the mindset of I want to be bar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised al-abrar with beautiful promises in Jannah. So, and your key for that is having a sidq, seeking truth in what you say and what you do. That will lead you to be in al-birr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned al-birr a lot in the Quran, spoke about al-barrin or al-abrar a lot in the Quran. One of his most beautiful names is al-barr subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so these are just ideas just to refresh, to review what we learned before. And today we're going to add to that. Things to avoid. So if we learned things to do and things to avoid, today is from things to avoid. So please, on your notes, you're going to learn now what to avoid in order to have a good returning path and to stand in their judgment in a better place. So let's see the following hadith, inshallah. We're going to share it on the screen. So this hadith is riwayat al-Imam Muslim, rahimahullah. And you can see the translation, but I will still go word by word because sometimes translation of a word gets so fixed in our mind that we don't think beyond the translation. And it's not your fault. This is how it's translated. This is how you understand it. But it's a big challenge. For example, in classes, when I ask question like, what is huda? It's direct, it's straightforward that people say, huda means guidance. And I give you example 2 weeks back when we saw in the hadith when Muhammad said, al-kadhib yahdi ila al-fujur. So yahdi doesn't mean to guide, because he said al-kadhib yahdi. Kadhib doesn't guide, but kadhib can leads to. So if you understand yahdi to mean to show or to lead, different than you understand yahdi as to guide. So translation or looking for one word to translate one word in Arabic can lead you to miss out a lot of meaning. So that's why I will go still little by little. So this hadith an Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he said that Muhammad sallallahu one time he said, "Atadruna man al-muflis?" He's asking them a question, and this is way of teaching. So if you are a teacher or a parent or helping someone else, Muhammad sallallahu the one who taught us what to do in our deen, in our affairs, he used to ask questions all the time. Look, this is how he started. Atadruna man al-muflis? Do you know who's al-muflis? Muflis means a person that is broke. So doesn't have any means, or used to have means, or used to have riches, but now it ran out. Like the translated bankrupt. To go bankrupt means to lose all the sources or resources you have. So he's asking them, Man al-muflis? Do you know who al-muflis is? So they said, al-muflisu fina. Now this is their understanding of al-muflis. So they said, al-muflisu fina man la dirham lahu wala mata'. The person that lost everything, so now he has no dirham. What does dirham mean? Dirham, are you familiar with the word dirham?
Currency.
Excuse me?
The currency, money.
Yeah, a dirham, like it can be a currency, it can be a coin, a money. So who has no dirham and he has no mata' or anything of that he could carry around, like if you move from house to house, from ni'mat Rabbi subhanahu wa ta'ala on you and on me, that we have something to move. You have furniture, that's your mata'. You have a box filled with books or with china, or this is your mata'. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted you that. Some people don't have mata', so when they move from place to place, it's like 2 or 3 things that they have, if they had anything. So this is their understanding of who al-muflis is. Has no currency, has no money, has no coins, and has no mata', nothing to furnish his house, his life. So he said, now this is their understanding. So when in Quran classes, when you attend and I tell you there are two meanings always or more to a word, this hadith shows you that the Sahaba's understanding and the people understanding of the word is different than what the Prophet ﷺ is about to introduce to them. So he said, Al-muflisu min ummati, the muflis from my nation, who is the person that will come on the day of judgment with salat, with prayers, lots of prayers, was siyam, fasting, was zakat, and doing his obligatory zakat. So he followed what? What does that sound like? Having salat, siyam, zakat. What does that sound like?
Acts of worship. Good deeds.
Okay, so I hear one of my sisters said acts of worship. He fulfilled his obligations. I'm still looking for one word that you can say simply, but just by following these 3, and I can't find it yet. Muslim, ahsanti, he's following the pillars of Islam, right? Siyam, salat, especially that order, you know. Salat, siyam, zakat. So yes, it's an act of worship, but not any act of worship. It's the mandatory act of worship for him to be a Muslim. أحسنتي my sister فهميدة جزاك الله خيرا. Of course, I'm not putting down any of what you suggested, but you're talking in a general way, and maybe I meant it in a more specific way. So what you said, act of worship, correct. If it's he's doing the fard, yes, but the fard of what? To make or to embrace Islam. So he got all these boxes checked. He did his salat, he did his siyam, he did his zakat. Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. ولكن, however, يأتي قد شتم هذا. شتم is to insult or call name to someone. شتم. So you see, act of salat, siyam, zakat didn't stop him still from name calling. So when people call other people that, I will avoid, of course, use the words, but I'm going to hint so you understand what I'm talking about. If they are not smart, for example, and use a word for that, or if they're not clever in a situation and use a word for that, these are shata'im, my sisters. You think of it as like just a word that I use, but this word has a weight. Don't underestimate the weight of the word you say. So he شتم هذا وقذف هذا. القذف is something bigger than just name calling. What is قذف? قذف is saying that someone is having an act that can put him in question, like put him in court, like accusation of someone, false accusation of someone. But in certain areas in Islam, like for example, say that this person, A'udhu Billah, sees women at night. Let's say, like someone say about his neighbor that, astaghfirullah. So that is called qadhf. Because when he says something like that, he's hinting to the possibility that his neighbor is committing a crime in Islam or adultery, right? So that's called qadhf. If it doesn't have a proof, it's called qadhf. When you hint to someone, you say, we don't know what people do in these closed houses. It looks like an innocent statement, but the person who's listening to you might interpret it in another way. It could be what you mean about it or what you don't. So avoid even accusing with a question or with the open statements like that. That's called qadhf. Qadhf on a word level, like the language understanding of qadhf, is like throwing something at someone. What the speaker is throwing is the accusation to someone that may be not doing that at all. So when you are in a majlis, in a sitting, and some start talking about a person that's not around and hinting with words that maybe she does that, astaghfirullah. So try to withdraw from that majlis or to remind people, we don't know. Let's say out there, you may, without realizing, cause yourself to be in a qadhf situation. So that person that had his siyam, salat, zakat, now first he did name calling, second he did qadhf. Third, أكل مال هذا, ate or devoured the wealth or the money of this, like of another person. What does that mean? أكل المال, devouring other people's mal. Can you give examples? When you hear this, somebody devours other person's wealth or money, what does that mean?
Somebody taking someone else's money or property with force, without permission or unlawfully.
أحسنتي جزاك الله خيرا. My sister عارفة, this is an idea of taking somebody else's money, like forcing or forging a document saying that this property belonged to me and it doesn't, and then they devour it or they take it without a right. Take it unrightfully. أحسنتي, take something without right. This is one way, but you're not thinking of other way. I would like other thoughts. Try. Because it could happen to any of us without realizing that's a problem. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that to attack, like attacking on someone's honor?
No, this is specifically wealth, mal.
Okay.
Jazakallah khairan. Attack on somebody else's honor can go under the qadhf, the previous one. Okay, eating somebody's food without permission. Okay, using your own wealth wastefully. No, using your own wealth wastefully, forgive me. It's wasting. It's called israf, but it's not called devouring. But jazakallah khair for trying. If someone made baked or did food and somebody else took this food or ate it without asking or paying for it, that's devouring. Another example, it could happen to any of us, which is that, for example, imagine that somebody asked you to borrow something, to borrow a 10 pounds bill, to borrow 100 bill, to borrow your ring to go to a wedding, or your dress, or a book, or something in the house because she doesn't have it, she has a guest and she needs it. Okay, so asking for borrowing is okay. Yeah, one of my sisters saying ruining something. Okay, we're about to get there. So asking itself is okay, and borrowing itself is okay. But after borrowing it, denying to return it, or ruining it and refusing to fix it, that is devouring somebody else's money. So it could be, for, of course, a piece of land, it could be a piece of jewelry, it could be a book. So somebody, it could be the money that somebody lent from, borrowed from you, and then when you say, okay, do you have that 10 pounds? I need it now. They say, no, I don't have it. Can you go without it for a little while? And then you are patient again, and then you ask for it again, and then you don't have it again. So you end up giving up, and you say, oh, it's just 10 pounds. For you, it's just 10 pounds. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they had your money eaten or devoured. You see how simple it can lead. Those 10 pounds now is in A'udhu Billah, is in their book that they didn't return it, and they denied it. They could say sorry. They could say, okay, can I get you something, the value? I don't have the money. Can you forgive me for not returning it, but I'll try harder. This is a different situation. So if they excuse themselves, if they stated that they don't have it, and you're patient because they don't have, and they offered to pay you in different ways, like to work for you an hour, or offer you a service, or get you something else with that, all that is okay. But just denying it and asking for more time and never getting back to you, that is devouring money. So don't only think of akl mal hada as, or devouring somebody else's wealth as, going by force and taking somebody else's property. It can happen, that's possible. But as well, it can be in those borrowing, returning things that get lost through time. And you say, oh, subhanAllah, that person many years ago asked me for this and they never return it. Or you can say, I have asked this neighbor or my sister for this, and it's still here in my house, and I never returned it. So if you have something like that laying around, good idea, go ahead and return it. You don't need it anymore. Why is it still in your house? The person will never forget about it. And if they do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't forget about it. So, aklu mali hada. This person, after he had salat, siyam, and zakat, he had name calling, he had qadf, and he had devouring other people's wealth as well. Safaka dama hada. Safaka dam. The word dam is clear to you. What does dam mean? Okay, I will answer the question inshallah in a second. I will come back to this. Okay, dam doesn't mean sacrifice. Dam means blood. Yes. So safki dam. What does safki dam mean? When someone safaka dam someone else, means they could hurt them, wound them badly, or they can even cause that to take their life by accident or on purpose. That's one understanding of the word safaka dama hada. So safaka is to shed the blood. So someone hit someone and they caused them to bleed. That's safaka dam. Someone pushed someone and they hit something and that caused them to break an arm or a rib. That's safku dam. That's one idea or understanding of safku dam. Another idea that when someone is doing lots of things that are known to the community, we're not assuming that they're good or bad, they're just unknown. And another person gave himself the authority to track him down, call with accusations, maybe they're false accusation. So he starts spreading in the community that this person is a thief, or this person deserves to be and to be put in prison, or this person deserves to be punished. That is another idea of safku dam, which means he made his dam halal. He made his dam allowed to be taken because of those accusations. So safaka dam hadha means participated. That person now that with those scales or those deeds, he participated in making other person's blood available for payoff without a proof. So imagine someone is looking for a killer, and as a neighbor suspected that his neighbor could be the killer, and he reported him, and I have these proofs. I saw him doing this, I saw him doing that. And the people captured this person. Now he's convicted with killing, and maybe he didn't even do it. That's called safku dam. So again, false accusation can lead to safku dam. This is one idea of it. The other idea is that he himself hurt him or push him or cause a cut in him, and that's the shedding of his blood. So it's still in his weight. It's still in his scales. Well, daraba hada, and he hit that person. Daraba is to hit. And for that, you can open a big one, really big case about daraba. Daraba to hit or to strike. Some older sisters think that they can daraba their younger sisters. Some older brothers think that they can daraba their younger brothers. Or two brothers think they can daraba one another. Parents think that they can daraba their children. And as the parents do that, or grandparents do that, children grow up with knowing what daraba is, and they practice it, and they get aggressive because of it. Daraba, every time you daraba someone, it's in your scale. If your child spilled water and you daraba your child, that is not the pay for spilling water, and it's in your scale. He didn't do, daraba has to have, like hitting in Islam, must have a valid reason, because why? You are, or the person who's hitting is giving themselves authority on other person's body, and every person's body belongs to them only, and only become available for punishment with a reason. I'll repeat that again, and I'll repeat it as many times as needed. Every person's body is there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the ownership of that body. You have the ownership for your own body. No one else can have access to that body without your permission, or to be available for punishment must have a valid reason for that. And the reasons in Islam and the Quran that can make the body available for punishment. Spilling water on your furniture is not one of those reasons. Do you see? So think so many times before hitting anyone. And when you see a child hitting another child, teach them that there are other ways of communication, and hitting can cause them to lose that hasana. and can lead the other person be in an ownership of their hasanat, as you're going to see now in the hadith. Am I hearing a mic open? Okay. So I will stop here and go back for just to sum up what happened from the beginning of the hadith. Muhammad ﷺ is talking about a person that is muflis, and he's saying, from my nation, the person that is muflis is the person who does, and he explained. First, he comes on the day of judgment with salat and siyam and zakat. But he name called this one. He qadhafa, accused falsely this one, or spoke about other person's honor. He devoured the wealth of this one. He shed the blood of that one. He hit that one. Look what's happening now. It's the time to pay. It's day of judgment. فَيُعْطِي هَذَا مِنْ حَسَنَاتِهِ. So now his hasanat that he gathered, that he worked so dearly to do every day salat, siyam every Ramadan, and you see that Ramadan the day can go to more than 20 hours of fasting. Now he has to give those hasanat as a pay or a repay for every person that he disturbed by name calling or qadf or any or hitting or any of that. He has to pay in hasanat because there is no wealth at that time for you to pay or for anyone to pay. Now he's paying in hasanat. From Muhammad sallam saying, فَيُعْطِي هَذَا مِنْ حَسَنَاتِهِ. So he gives this one from his hasanat. وَهَذَا مِنْ حَسَنَاتِهِ. And that one from his hasanat. And that is continue to happen until his own hasanat are gone. That's why Muhammad sallam called him what? Muflis. He ran out of resources. And essentially, he has lots of them. But he has other deeds that or rights that were left unsettled. So, but is the pay or the repay finished? It didn't. What if after finishing all his hasanat, he still owe people that he hit or name called or did any of that? He started getting from their sayyat. So now the pay is settled by them giving him sayyat, wrong or bad acts that they did. And now they're getting rid of it because they're going to be transferred to his sayyat. As Muhammad ﷺ is saying here, أَخَذَ مِنْ خَطَايَاهُمْ. So he will start taking from their wrong acts or doings or sins. Then it will be placed on top of his scales. Then he's going, A'udhu Billah, in an-nar. Oh, am I hearing a mic open? Is there a question? Okay.
Sorry, Ustad, can I just quickly ask, his good deeds, will they be given to the one that he committed those sins against?
Yes.
Okay. Jazakallah khair.
وإياكم. The good deeds are taken rightfully to the people that he committed these acts to and never had apologized or returned those rights in this life. That is why when you know that now, and you see how many years one of us lived, let's say 20 years, 50 years, 30 years, and we vary through those years. Was our record clear from one of those acts? Did we hit someone? Did we name call someone? Did we do any of those? If we did, then it's a good idea to start repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seeking istighfar from those things in particular. And if these people are around, children, neighbors, sisters or brothers, it's really worth it to go and apologize. Even if it was million years ago, to go say, listen, when I used to do this to you, I really regret it. And I don't want to go to Yawm al-Qiyamah with this in my scales. I ask you to forgive me. Do you forgive me for doing that? Maybe they will tell you as well that they used to do something to you that you have forgotten. but they will clear the record too. They will say, would you forgive me for doing such and such too? So you're both cleared. In this case, as long as they forgive you here, bi'idhnillah, it is not going to be taken from your hasanat, and you're not going to be taken from their hasanat either. So these hasanat are given to the people that they were hurt from in those ways from this person rightfully. This is the pay for it. So in this life, the pay is a lot easier. The pay is asking for forgiveness or sorry or returning a right or offering to help until the person is say, listen, clear, I'm cleared. I'm not holding anything against you. That is a lot easier than coming in the day of judgment with hasanat you work every single day to grow. And then you have to pay from them to that person. So at the end, the Prophet ﷺ said, after his hasanat is done, if he has no hasanat, he has no way to go to Jannah, but he still owe people things. Then he start taking from their sins. So now they are getting rid of the sins and they are put on his scales. Again, with rightfully, until he goes into fire or thrown into fire. I have here a comment. He has to give from his good ahsanti. This is how he run out. This is how he'll become muflis. He become bankrupt. I had a question earlier. What if this person no longer in your life? The person that you've taken is maybe something from and you forgot to return, or it's difficult to return. You try. So try to track them down. Where do they live? How they live? If you can't, then give sadaqah on their behalf. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive their sins. If they're no longer alive, then you can pray for them. You can say, oh Allah, forgive this person and grant them Jannah. Maybe your dua is something that could save them from a trouble they are facing in their grave or in the day of judgment. So if you've taken a right a right of word or honor from someone, and you couldn't pay it because they are no longer around, or you've taken something and it's forgotten in your house and you didn't return it because they are no longer around, then ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them, to forgive them, to admit them to Jannah, give sadaqah on their behalf if you can, and do that until you feel satisfied, until you feel good, inshallah, that you paid what you owed them, from any types of those rights. The rights from people is the one thing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us forgiveness and admit us to Jannah. Is the one thing you can't leave without having them settled. So from this hadith, we know how to prepare our path to return. Make a list, make a reminder for yourself. What is it that you need to do? If it's something done to you from someone else, and you don't, it was so hard that you can't forgive, you can't let go. First, not forgiving, because if we spoke about this, we have to speak about that. If you cannot forgive, it's going to be, or to continue hurting you, because you're holding something back, and you're going to continue resent that person and every person that acts like them. Settle that account. Say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. You don't have to forgive them, as you have to accept that what they done to you is right. No, this is not forgiveness. Forgiveness is deciding to let them go for Allah's sake. And that if they would have to be punished only for your sin or for what they did to you, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive them. For them not to have to be punished on the day of judgment just because they did what they did to you. Of course, each one of us feels completely different than the other with this regard, because each one of us could be hurt from another person in different ways. But there's a story I told before, and maybe those that heard it from me before, I asked them to forgive me. I'll just say it quickly. An old man was witness crying after, in the story in Salat al-Asr, he was witness crying after Salat al-Asr. So people gathered around him and said, what happened? He said, I lost my wallet. So people, as they look like they were relieved, it wasn't a big deal. He said, you are an old man and you cry because of the money in the wallet? He said, it's not that. I just imagined me and the thief in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in day of judgment, both of us in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I had mercy on the thief. So I cried. Because now the thief is going to get punished for that wallet. And it's not, as you can see, it is not wealth that he has to return. It's Jannah and Nar, Hasanat and Sayyat. That's the pay. So always imagine, does it worth it to hold and not forgive that person that did this act to you? Review in yourself, reflect, let go if you can. You are becoming more dear and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you do that, because you let go, you forgive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encourages us to let go and forgive. If we forgive first, ahsanti, jazakallah khairan. And that is actually close in the light of a verse in the Quran. He said, subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلِيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ يَغْفِرُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Don't you like it when Allah forgive you? Then forgive and let go of what others did to you. So if you are the one who has the rights from others, go ahead and seek how you return them. If you can't find the people, pray for them, give sadaqah on their behalf. If they are around, apologize, ask in any way that they would like you to return what you've taken, or ask for forgiveness. All those attempts are going into your book, right? If you are the one who's owed, like you're the one that was hurt, then you still have a choice to forgive and let go, wanting Allah's forgiveness and seeking it. So that's our first hadith. It's already 2 p.m. SubhanAllah. Jazakallah khairan. And Jazakallah khairan, my sister Romana, for that. Okay, questions? We have half an hour. I would like to see the next hadith maybe in 10 minutes or so, and then look at Surat Yousof, so we have more time to spend in it, inshallah, today. But first, do you have questions regarding this hadith? Go ahead, please. And if you don't have questions, do you have a reflection, something you want to share with us, so we all learn together? Okay, this is a valid question, and it can happen. Jazakallah khairan, my sister Atiya. What if you ask for forgiveness and the person doesn't want to forgive? Ask for something else. What can I do to get you? What would it take for you to forgive me? If they don't forgive right away, so offer another thing. If they still say no, nothing you could do that will make me forgive you, then that's it. You let them go. You can try later if you want, but that's up to you. But you already attempted and you already offered yourself and offered what to do in order to get them to forgive you. But you still can pray for them, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to soften their heart, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they would forgive you. But that has to come after you already attempted to ask them and to see if they could take you back and let go of what happened. Some people, as we spoke about this before, some people it's really easy. All what they wanted actually is that apology. Some people it's really easy. But others, they find the apology maybe is not enough. So that's why you need to ask, okay, I know what I did was that bad, but what could I do more? So your heart will feel at ease and you'll forgive me. Always put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Sometimes it's really hard to say, I forgive you. And what was done was really big to them. What if you don't get an apology? Okay, ahsanti, very good. So you are waiting for the apology, which is the case that we said before. You are the one that was hurt and you're waiting for the apology and you never got it. So you have a choice to encourage them to do that. So if they're younger than you, for example, hint to it and you say, maybe an apology would do. So you help them, show them the way. Remember when we learned in the one hadith and verse earlier in those sessions, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us how to do, like what happened with Adam alayhi salam. He taught Adam the words to forgive. Adam never knew them because Adam alayhi salam never made a sin. But when he did, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him what to say. So if they're younger than you, if they even older than you and you're speaking to them and that is mentioned, you say, maybe an apology would do. Not about you, generally, as you're hinting to them, they could do that for you too. So you could offer that help if you want. You could let it go if you want. You could wait for it, and this is going to be on them. If you don't forgive and they never asked for it, then they're going to be asked about it on the Day of Judgment. So when you seek person's forgiveness, it's like a weight that has been lifted off your shoulders. Ahsanti. Ahsanti, jazakallah khairan. Yes, everyone according to their intention, but sometimes apology can seem not seem enough to someone, including you and me. So for example, if we had an appointment, I'm talking, for example, me and my sister Fahmida or my sister Atiyya or my sister Amna, if we had an appointment and I said, I'm going to be there for you 2 p.m. in front of this place, wait for me, we're going to hang out or we're going to go to a certain place, I'm going to show you, and you had to cancel appointment, you had to maybe had someone to babysit your children, and I left you there and never showed up. And I didn't call and I didn't message, I just left you there. And you couldn't reach me after that anymore. That was it. You will always going to remember that. You see, sometimes it hurts. Not only it hurts that the person didn't show up, that they didn't say anything about it. They just pretended it never happened to them. But for you, it did happen. So if imagine after a month or two, I show up and say, sorry, I did not show up that day. Is that enough for you? Would that seem enough? After 2 months, I show up and say, sorry. Did you have to wait for me? Sorry. You see? Do you see what I mean? So that's why I can't only say sorry. I would have to, you will have to tell me, express your feelings exactly. I can hear you saying sorry, but it really hurt that day. And you never called and you never messaged me. Then I have to tell you, then what should I do to make you happy again with me? I owe you that, you see? If after that you said nothing you could do, then I'll say, okay, I will ask Allah to forgive me and you, and I will leave. But I have to try more than once, because what I did, just sorry is not enough for. I hope I made this point clear, inshallah. Okay, moving on. Can you curse someone for not returning money owned from a business transaction? Curse, astaghfirullah. Did I read it right? Right? You mean like make dua against them? Astaghfirullah. Okay. instead of doing that, maybe you already have, out of anger and out of being hurt from that transaction. I understand why would you do that. And if you already have done, there is no not there is no problem, but you had a right to do that. Let's say another way. It's okay. I understand. So if they're cheating and it was a business transaction and it was supposed to be returned, that it never was, you have a right to say, oh Allah, take my right from them on Day of Judgment, or you make dua against them. You can, but the thing is, something you have to really think about. The more you and other people that suffered from this make dua against this person, is that person at any point going to turn into a good person? You see how many people, it's not only you, if you were cheated by one, high chance other people were cheated by the same person. Family included, neighbors included, supermarket included. Yes, of course. If they have it in them, they will do it. Your warning is appreciated. However, they will continue to do what they're accustomed to do, right or wrong. It's not your fault that they did wrong. However, and that's why if you say, oh Allah, take my right from them, it's your right, it's your dua. However, if every one of us will continue to do a dua against them, they will never be guided. However, if you change your dua slightly and say, oh Allah, guide them to do what's best, guide them to return the rights of people, maybe it will be better. But again, I completely understand, because the heat and the anger that we have upon a treatment like that can, of course you can, and you will get it in the Day of Judgment if they never returned it. You see, if the right was taken from you here and the person never apologized, never returned it, he or she have to pay them in the Day of Judgment hasanat. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fair, and everyone will take their full right. It's the Day of Judgment. See, each one will have their full right, whoever they are. So exactly, it's your haqq was taken from you, it will return to you. However, what I'm trying to encourage you to do, until one of two things happen, whether the person return it, so they are repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they come back and say, forgive me, I've done this to you and to other people, and this is your right. Maybe this will happen, but we can try encouraging that by making dua for their guidance. So you get double reward. You get first the reward for making dua for them to be guided, and then you get your money back, because if they are guided, they're going to return your money. If you don't want to do that, no one can force you to do, and you're still going to have your right on Day of Judgment. Okay, I had got a question before. 1 second, please. What if the person has been slandered and gossiped? Want to do anything about it? Okay, they don't want to do anything about it, or don't want even to acknowledge this. Jazakallah khairan, my sister, for your question. So having the warning and having the advice from others to apologize and to acknowledge what they did, it's already attempts for them to go ahead and return the right that they've taken, that they talked about other people without their acknowledgement, or they said something behind their back. If they don't do, then it is the right of the person that's spoken about, and they're going to take it in the judgment. As you can see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fair. Even would they have their salat and siyam and zakat, but that didn't stop them from committing those acts, they're going to still pay for. I have another question. Across a dua. Oh, to give. I have to check, my sister. I have to check regarding this to sacrificing of an animal on Day of Judgment. Astaghfirullah. I'm saying astaghfirullah because I'm not sure if it's a hadith or of some the sunnah or not. So I can check inshallah for you and get back to you inshallah. Okay, so we're not going to have enough time to look at another hadith. So now we're going to move on to Surat Yousof. Are we settled? We understand what we learned from the hadith and what we learn, what to do for other people's right that we owe them, and what to do if somebody owes us. We can forgive, we can let go, we can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide them, or we can wait for their judgment. All of them are available. If your brother hasn't done justice in terms of with the family wealth, okay. Of course, if they didn't do justice and died like that, they didn't have time to ask for forgiveness. Can we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them? It's up to Allah because they died and they never returned the rights. So it's going to be on them on Day of Judgment, subhanAllah. So, but we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala too, that they have good deeds, maybe to support them. But it's in Allah's hands to decide to punish them, or how is the punishment going to be, a'udhu billah. And may Allah save us from being in a situation like that. Allahumma ameen. So if you didn't get your right here, you will for sure get it on Day of Judgment. But he died. Yes, I understand. And I understand he died in that situation. He died and he didn't ask for forgiveness and he didn't return people's rights. So what we can do now, if we want to save him, we can forgive him and we can ask Allah to forgive him as an attempt that his, a'udhu billah, his punishment of not returning the rights is lighter. But if we don't do that, he has to return it, a'udhu billah, in Day of Judgment. He has to pay it. You see? So if you don't get it here, you will get it there. If you are not accountable for it here, if you don't pay it here, you will pay it there. No one's right is going to be lost. Did I answer your question? Okay. Barakallah feek. Okay. So prepare your path to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let go, ask for forgiveness, pray for those that are no longer around. Fill your heart with goodness. Remember this verse that we learned before. If Allah sees in your heart goodness, He will grant you more than was taken from you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that in the Quran. It's okay. Jazakallah khairan. So fill your heart with goodness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you more than was taken from you. Don't hold anything against someone. Don't resent someone. Try. It is not an easy practice. It's hard. But try. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the strength. Allahumma ameen. Okay, so now we're going to look at Surat Yousof. And last week, Yusuf alayhi salam prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, calling upon him. He said, "Oh my Lord, as-sijnu, to be imprisoned or the prison is more beloved to me from what they all calling me to." And we understood that not only Imra'atul Aziz, the rest of the women start calling him to do the same thing. And then he's explaining to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala his human weakness. And he said, وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنَّ, if you don't put away from me their kaid, their plotting, their ways that I'm not familiar with, أَصْبُ إِلَيْهِنَّ, I may incline or relay or go towards their direction. وَأَكُمْ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ, and in this case, I'm going to be from those who are jahilin. Then we spoke about what jahl is, and we spoke about it many times before. Jahl is being informed falsely or having the knowledge and ignoring to put it into practice. Having the knowledge and not putting into practice is a jahl. Because why then you have knowledge? So if someone said, don't touch that cup, it's hot. So you go ahead and you touch it. That is called, may Allah protect us all from this situation like that. That is called jahl. Why? Because he had information and you chose to disregard it. So after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ. Subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his call. He wanted to go at this situation, the safest place for him was to be in prison. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his call. فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ فَصَرَفَ عَنْهُ كَيْدَهُنَّ. So he put away from him their plotting and their kayd. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is as-sami'u al-alimu. He hears you and he hears me, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he knows, he has the full knowledge about what we do and what everybody else is doing. And his knowledge is full and complete and perfect. And his hearing is full, complete, and perfect. Astaghfirullah. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ثُمَّ بَدَى لَهُمْ. Then it was appeared, showed to them who, Al-Aziz, the minister and the wife and other people in the family and all that, they've seen so many signs, ayat, how women are attached to him and how he got into few troubles because of how he looks. They decided to put him in prison, which is the answer to the dua he made. He didn't do a crime. I want you to be clear about that. Yusuf alayhi salam did not commit anything wrong, as you see from the story. On the contrary, he was wronged. Don't you see, subhanAllah, we're just talking about being wronged a second ago. He is wronged, not from one person, from many. And the decision was to put himself in prison, which is the place for the other people that wronged him, right? But yet, this is what he wanted. This is where he wanted to go. Because he thought this is the place where he can reflect, where he can find himself again, where he can think, where he's isolated or away from those sources of fitna or distraction to him. So they all thought that they're going to put him in prison until a while. Please, in your notes, continue to reflect upon that. He was not the person who wronged anyone. He was wronged by many people. And he is the one that got to go into prison. So you see, when we're talking about being wronged and wronging someone, sometimes the person that wronged us is outside, free, they're enjoying their life, and we are not. That's not a bad sign. You see here, Yusuf alayhi salam was there. Okay. So now he is in prison. So I want you to follow his story because there are a lot of lessons to learn until here, verse 35. Yusuf alayhi salam, the beginning of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called Surat Yousof Ahsan al-Qasas, the most beautiful story or the best of the stories. He saw a dream. The surah started with that dream. He received advice from his father not to narrate the dream to anyone, especially his brothers. They made a kayd for him, a plot. The brothers anyway made a kayd for him, took him as a child, 10, 11 years old. They throw him into a well. They come with a fabricated story to his father with a shirt that had blood on. Yusuf alayhi salam was rescued from the well and taken to a market to be sold. He was bought by Al-Aziz. He lived there. When he started growing up, the wife of Al-Aziz was attracted to him in those ways, and then the rest of the story. And now he's ending in prison after all this journey. Okay, so if you are stuck or in a bad place at this moment in your life, that is not the end, because there is a lot of good news coming forward. But let's see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ السِّجْنَ فَتَيَانِ. Now we are in verse 36. Two young men entered the prison there while he was there. So he was there for a while, and then they opened the prison cell after days or weeks or months, and they let two young men in. And then the two young men kept on having, and I'll tell you why I'm saying that in a second in the verse, kept on having certain dreams. So they didn't see them one time, those dreams, they kept on seeing them. How do I know that? See, the first one, قال أحدهما إني أراني. The verb أراني in Arabic is a present tense verb. He's saying, I see myself. So I see doesn't mean that he had it once. It's like a recurrent dream, kept coming, kept coming. I see myself squeezing wine. أعصر or عصير is to squeeze or to press. خمرا, wine. And the other man or the other young man said, I see myself. Inni arani. So again, it wasn't one time. It kept on happening. أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا. I'm carrying a bread on top of my head. تأكل الطير منه. The birds are eating from it. And then they said, نبئنا بتأويله. Tell us what it means, or what is the interpretation of that. But why they both thought that Yusuf alayhi salam would have any clue about that? What do you think? So they narrated their dreams. They saw, each one of them told what they saw. My question to you is why they thought that Yusuf alayhi salam could help them with the dreams. What's your idea?
Maybe that was is a wise person, which is senior than them. They are young, and he have an idea.
Yeah. Jazakallah khairan. So what I heard was they were younger, so for them like an older person seemed wiser, so that's why they went for him. Okay, Jazakallah khairan. Who else have an idea? Did they hear something from someone? It's not told, because no one know anything special about Yusuf beside that he is very, very good looking, and he got into trouble because of that. So what possibly did they could hear? You see, even if they heard something, it won't be encouraging for them to ask that question or to request that. You see? One more idea, please. Why do you think they are requesting for him to interpret their dreams? I was thinking that how did they know? Exactly, how? Why? So the answer, and try to do that next time, to look a little bit ahead of my question, because the answer is right there. Inna naraka min al-muhsinin. This is the answer. The time that they were with him in the prison, they witnessed beautiful things that Yusuf alayhi salam doing. He is praying, he is supplicating. Most of the time he is quiet. So they've seen from him few things that encouraged them to request that. They've seen signs of ihsan, beautiful acts. Ihsan or husn, beauty. Exactly. They've witnessed him a good character. It's like, imagine you are in a doctor's office waiting for someone, and maybe the person sitting beside you or closer to your chair is reading Quran or is having a book and reading from it. You expect goodness because you see something good. So this is what they interpret. They had the justification. Why are they asking him to give them or to inform them the interpretation of those dreams? Because they've seen from him ihsan, beauty, good conduct. Okay, so what we learned from verse 36, few things. 2 young men entered the prison while Yusuf alayhi salam was there. Each one of them kept on having a certain dream. The dream, because it kept on coming, it bothered them and they wanted to understand what it meant. They turned to Yusuf alayhi salam, they start speaking with him, they narrated the dreams, they have a request based on observation, their request to interpret the dream, him interpreting their dreams, based on their observation of his good character or good doing. Questions? Okay, after that, Yusuf alayhi salam spoke. We're not going to be able to finish it all, but at least the first part. Yusuf alayhi salam said, and this is one of the things they witnessed, and he's reminding them with it as well. قال, he said, لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما. What is طعام? Ahsanti. So food. So they used to, whoever the guards or who's in charge of the prison, to bring food to the prisoners. So Yusuf alayhi salam is telling them, every single time a food will be served to you, I will tell you ahead of time what are you going to be eating. This is another thing they didn't say. They just said, we've seen you from Al-Muhsinin, but he has been doing other things too, like saying, today you'll be eating this. And after a little while, the cell is open and they're serving them the food that he said they will be eating. You see? لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما. Before even comes. Is this a sign of ihsan? This is a sign of that he has something special. They don't know it yet. What is it? He's going to explain to them. But this is the special thing, another special thing he has. Does that make sense? Okay. Jazakumullah khairan, my sisters. We're going to have to stop there, inshallah, and we're going to continue from the same verse next week to see what else Yusuf alayhi salam will tell them. And Jazakumullah khairan for joining me today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Allahumma ameen. Admit us to Jannah and save us from being a muflis on day of judgment. Allahumma ameen. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.